Would you work for 4 cents an hour? I saw someone in the comments joke that in Ancapistan, meaning in a free market, workers would be earning 4 cents an hour. My first thought was, okay, but how much is a house? Because if a house is $1, then suddenly 4 cents an hour doesn't sound so crazy. That's the trick most people miss. Wages don't exist in a vacuum. What matters is what your wages can buy, the goods and services you can actually trade for. And the history of capitalism is the story of making those things cheaper for everyone. Innovation in production aims at mass affordability, and competition pushes prices down towards cost. And cheaper goods don't just mean savings, they mean access. Entire categories of life that were once luxuries became normal. The obvious example being cell phones. The poor aren't ignored in markets. In fact, they are the largest opportunity. The biggest profits come from serving the most people. However, in a mixed economy, that process gets distorted. It's easy for people to build very cheap houses. In fact, you can buy houses on Amazon. Housing becomes expensive when supply is restricted by zoning laws and permits, putting artificial limits on building and occupancy. It used to be in the US that a day's wage afforded the average worker a year's worth of medical care under the lodge system. Healthcare became expensive when the government restricted who can provide it through licensing and other barriers to entry. Education became expensive when the state flooded the system with guaranteed loans, driving up demand. As you can see today with energy prices, oil is made expensive by governments destabilizing markets. And fiat money itself loses value when its supply is constantly expanded. It's not like money just naturally loses value or that the economy naturally has boom-bust cycles. That's all central banking. None of these things are broken in the market at all. It's just the political layer making things expensive. Notice the pattern. Barriers to building, barriers to working, barriers to competing. And barriers don't hurt the rich first. They hurt the poor first and foremost, because if you have capital, you can survive inefficiently. If you're at the margins, you can't. Often deregulation is framed as pro-corporate, but economic freedom matters most for the least wealthy and the least politically influential. I can't think of anything more anti-poor than blocking people from entering markets, especially through minimum wage laws, which impose a minimum level of productivity someone must meet just to be employable. The only truly ethical position when it comes to the poor is to allow them to enter the markets without restriction. Capitalism, even in its restricted form, has already created massive abundance. Our homeless shelters throw out food every day. So imagine a system fully allowed to do what it does best: drive down costs, expand access, and compete without the chains of taxation to serve as many people as possible. Talk about gentrification. What is a regulated economy if not a kind of economic gating, pricing people out through rules instead of markets? And all in an effort to create this facade of an economy that is both controlled and full of opportunity. A clear contradiction. We're told these regulations protect people, but protection in practice often means exclusion. And exclusion is paid for first and hardest by those with the least. Capitalism doesn't promise no one will be poor. It promises that being poor doesn't have to mean living poorly.